Okay, so we'll now be discussing who would be the target audience for our film. So the first group I'd like to discuss are middle-aged men, a very broad group. Some would argue that middle-aged men are the ideal target audience for noir films, and they'd even elaborate further, saying that it would be men over the age of 50 as they were around during noir's peak, and this would add an element of nostalgia. Another point that some may add is that during the noir's peak's point in the 40s and 50s, noir was watched by ex-World War II soldiers as they felt they could relate to the alienation felt by the noir protagonists. Noir films are aimed at more mature audiences as well, due to their mature themes such as crime and seduction, and usually have film ratings of 15 or 18. So, noir films would be targeted at the older audiences, and they're not very accessible to the young. It would tend to be an older person is already a fan of noir. It appeals to a specific kind of niche group. Overall, noir's main audience is just men in general. So noir films use male protagonists so that their male audience can relate more to the protagonist as well. Even though they may include females as quite a predominant role, they're usually just used as femme fatales, which are just used to create an element of fantasy for the male viewer. As well as this, we cannot forget that the film we're making is a neo-noir film, so of course we must aim it at modern audiences as well. So as our film is a neo-noir film, it would also appeal to modern audiences, since neo-noir films are noir films with a modern spin to them. Neo-noir films would appeal to the current generations of young adults and adults. So neo-noir films may also target those living in urban areas, as they may relate to the settings of the neo-noir films. For example, if you are watching a neo-noir film about inner city Brooklyn crime, you're going to enjoy that more if you live in inner city New York than if you live in the suburbs, as you'd find it more relatable. Similarly, in our film, if you live in Belfast city centre or in the inner city, you will find it possibly more relatable than if you live in the countryside. So an audience could be those in the inner cities. So even if it does sound quite cocky, another audience that we're aiming at is the intelligent and creative audiences. So due to the more complex and convoluted narrative of noir films, they're often targeted at the more intelligent viewer, as well as the more creative viewer, due to their stylistic look and use of filters and lighting. Most general film fans as well also have an appreciation for noir films, with companies like Criterion releasing a wide range of noir collections, and films like Sunset Boulevard and The Maltese Falcon being widely recognised as film masterpieces. So the point being that although noir films usually do have quite a niche audience and they're not very widely accessible, if you're a fan of film in general, you will appreciate a good noir film. So it is any film fan really will be our target audience. And finally, the international and local audiences. So noir films have always been international because they've been made internationally, such as the Japanese film Stray Dog and the French film Rafifi, if I've pronounced that right. And these are all big films. Well, maybe not so much at the time, but they're now recognised as big films. So noir films have always had an international audience, but more so, I think our film should appeal more to a local audience, as the popularity of a recent film, The Guard, and the TV show Love Hate have proven that there is a desire for Irish crime films and TV shows for an Irish audience, so therefore a local audience may be good for our film.